Hi, everybody. So, today's installation of the Sergeant at Arms is about Make America Great Again and President Trump's blind eye. And so that means we are forced to have the conversation about race. It's always a difficult conversation, but it exists. And so I think the thing that kind of prompted this is there has been a large protest, mass protest, at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville, Virginia. And it's been white supremacists against anti alt right groups. And there have been serious clashes, even so much so that there was a car that barreled down a street and plowed down a whole crowd of people and killed one person. So this has gotten to the point where our president has got to step in and do something. He's got to make his position clear. Now, he did make a statement where he said this has to stop and hate shouldn't exist in this country in any form. That's great. He said that right after he was elected president when there were, there was a series of hate crimes and a lot of hate speech happening right after he won. He did the same thing, but it didn't change anything. I think it's because we have to go back to during the campaign. This is where his blind eye comes in. So President Trump says things like "Make America Great Again," and what he doesn't realize is he's inciting a call to violence and a call to hate. That's what he's doing. And so, "Make America Great Again." Here's an example. When black folks hear "Make America Great Again," the first thing we think is, well, make America great again back to when? Are we talking back to the 1960s when we had separate but equal? Are we talking back to the 1860s before the Emancipation Proclamation? Exactly when are we talking about Make America Great Again? And I think until someone from the Trump administration or from the Trump campaign, either would be fine, stop and put a definition on it, that's what's going to happen. And they can't say, oh, that's you can't think that way. They can't say that either because that is exactly what black folks think. When we hear "Make America Great Again," we're not sure what that is or when that is, because I think we feel like America's great now. So we're just kind of not sure what that means. And considering the lot of people who are Trump supporters tend to be rural, uneducated white people, this is a just statistic that came from the campaign trail. I didn't make it up. You have to wonder if that's not what they mean as well. And when they talk about "Make America Great Again," there's just kind of this, it seems like there's this unwritten part of that is "Make America Great Again" back to a time when being white was the only acceptable option. It just seems as though we're still in a place where there are parts of our country where children are being raised to hate people who don't look like them or who aren't exactly like them or who they don't have exposure to. So that's just a larger conversation, and President Trump is complicit in that because he says these things, he gets these people excited, and basically what he's doing is he's validating their more intolerant feelings. And so they feel like, well, you know what, if President Trump can feel like that, then I can too, and I should be able to say it out loud. And so now they feel like, oh, I can say it out loud and I can act on it. And that's not, I don't believe that that's his intention. But I also don't believe that he's doing enough to make sure that his supporters understand that's not what he intends, because that's where they're taking it. And this whole protest at the University of Virginia is just another reason to say, yeah, we can confirm that. The idea that there is such a rise in hate crimes and there's such a rise in white supremacy like we've never seen before, where did that come from? It came from "Make America Great Again." And so there has to be some concern there by the president to do something about that because, nowadays, this is 2017. Hundreds of years have gone by and we're still dealing with this issue. We just had the first black president of the United States of America and we're still dealing with this issue. It's as if he left and now everything has gone completely the opposite direction. So I think we have to figure out how to redefine Make America Great Again. That's the first thing. The Trump administration has to figure out how to redefine Make America Great Again, because the definition that exists out there is not a definition that I think everybody's comfortable with. The second thing that we have to do is President Trump has to be a lot more vocal about how he feels about hate crimes. Those are the two problems that I think have to be addressed, and the difficulty is there's so much anger surrounding both of those. So on the alt-right side, they're angry because they want white to be the only option that exists. On the Black Lives Matter side, there's a lot of anger because Black Lives Matter. And that whole situation has gotten out of control as well. And so everybody's angry, and I think the thing that we have to get away from is, one, anger. And two, I think if we had a leader who was saying, no, Make America Great Again doesn't mean that. Let me tell you what it means. And just give us a definition. I think that would work out better. So the last thing I want to say before I close this installation is, this of course is not, this is a political issue as far as I'm concerned. The perspective that the sergeant is taking for this is from the politics side, which again, you know, President Obama won because he lined up every single underrepresented group lined up behind him, and that's how he won. We can say the same thing about President Trump. President Trump won because underrepresented groups didn't get out to vote enough, and every white person in the middle of America did go out to support President Trump, and so the opposite happened that happened with President Obama. So again, you know, we want to point at a lot of things to say this is why that happened, but the fact is, what I just explained is how it happened. That's how it happened with President Obama. That's how it happened with President Trump. And so this has to become an issue of what are the politics, what are the demographics, because elections are only about demographics. And which demographic ends up victorious. That's what it ends up being. And so we have to get to a place where our demographics aren't about hate, and our demographics aren't about white supremacy versus underrepresented groups. So comments, tweets, I'm still out there, SGTATARMSUSA. Trying to send as many tweets as the president, but that's hard to do. So I welcome your comments to this below as well, and I will see you next time on Sergeant at Arms.